Congratulations, firstly, to Simgot for nailing the best Harmon Tuned IEM to date. Full stop. Period.
Told him that my love is free, but can you match me? I can do it all for myself. Want you, but really don't need help. So can you match me?
What my sound preferences are. I like bass. And if it can have quantity and quality, yeah, I'm rocking it. Especially mid bass. I like the slam over the sub bass rumble. I like my mids super clean. Not a big fan of overly colored, overly thick, overly warm mids. Not a big fan of that. And highs that are very sweet and seem to be able to keep up without ever being overbearing or in your face. So
Serving rich Auntie Chloe B. I know my job is a blessing, but F you, pay me. Rocks on my wrist, fur on my feet. Setting the table in all the chic. Baby, come eat. I like luxury. I like fancy things. Shine on my body. Live like royalty. Treat you like a king if I trust, but you must be worthy of the crown. I'm not just anybody, born to live in luxury. I work too hard, oh my. Luxury. We come so far, oh I. Luxury. Cover these scars and diamonds. Luxury. Every day I'm alive, it's giving lux, yeah.
And for me, that's what Harmon does to my perception. At first, it wows me, and then it totally puts me off. And it doesn't take too long for my brain to catch on that something isn't quite right.
We come so far, I covered these scars and diamonds. Every day I'm alive, it's giving lux, yeah. La 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 la, lux, la lux.
Hello. This has been a difficult one. This is going to be for the Simgot flagship called the EM10. I've been so conflicted on this IEM, and it's actually been very difficult to do this review, quite honestly. I mean, I'm so stressed out, I got a zit. I'm 54, and that hasn't happened since I was a horny adolescent 16-year-old. So thank God I'm not that anymore. Now I'm just a grumpy old man. I gotta do something different with this review. This is kind of going to reflect how difficult it was for me to do this review, and how conflicted I was writing this review. I have been a fanboy of Simgot. I have been a shill for Simgot because I'll go into it more. I owe them a proper review, and you as well. I think a lot of reviewers have been kind of very politically correct when it comes to this IEM. They don't want to say anything too negative, and they don't want to say anything too positive. And I think, unfortunately, that is not good for you who needs to decide with your wallets of what to do, and should you shell out $440 for Simgot's flagship IEM. So in this review, I'm going to start off with my conclusion. And then I'm going to go further and explain how I got to that conclusion, and and with tracks and with music and with examples, so you understand better this IEM in its entirety. And you can decide if this kind of tuning is for you, and it's something that you would enjoy, or something that maybe you won't. So that's why I'm doing this review. Firstly, I want to say once again, thank you to Simgot for providing the sample of the EM10. I appreciate your support for the channel, and as always, have a big fond place in my heart for your stuff. I always thought your IEMs were a standout in value as well. And I think the EM10 is probably right there as well with that. Conclusion. Hold on. Pure espresso. I feel like Hammy the squirrel on Over the Hedge. Congratulations, firstly, to Simgot for nailing the best Harmon Tuned IEM to date. Full stop. Period. It should not actually have been a surprise that Simgot tuned their flagship IEM to be the best reiteration of their preferred tuning. Think about that for a second. From the OG original EA500 up until now, Simgot still stuck with their core house sound of the Harmon 2019 curve in the tuning. Now, with the EA500, they kind of gave us some nozzles. They gave us some choices. Looking back, I feel that all the prior releases were tests leading up to the pinnacle of what Simgot considers its ultimate sound signature. I guess that leaves us as the test dummies, who tried to fight the waters and sometimes and played with different nozzles, swapped tuning foams and filters to sculpt their releases to our own sound preferences. And to that end, had quite a bit of success, and I enjoyed, and I still do, the EA500 with my filter mods and foams and stuff like that. I can't deny that there was some special sauce with the EA500 and onwards, including the EM6L. I mean, heck, I even found lots of redeeming qualities on the EW100, the EW100P, the 200. And then we got to slightly different tunings with the EA1000, and finally here with the EA500 LM. And you could see where this is going if you look back at the history and have you reviewed them all, as I have. You would say all of these previous releases were various tunings to provide choices to consumers, or I think that all these IEMs were Simgot's Simgot used to hone their tunings to create a ultimate version of what they feel is their house sound and ideal tuning. To that end, I think Simgot nailed this one. If you are a Harmon sound signature fan, then rejoice. Simgot put cohesively 10 drivers, which isn't an easy task, by the way, in a nice shell with pretty faceplates, unboxing experience worthy of the asking price. You've probably seen an unboxing of this already. Stand out. Like, fantastic. So I say congratulations to Simgot, honestly, from my heart, for putting together your dream IEM. And that's the name of this IEM. And I get it. I understand it now. But what if your dream isn't their dream? It's not my dream. I could say that I simply am not a Harmon fan, and this IEM is not for me. I could just do that and leave it there. But I honestly owe it to my subscribers, to you watching this video, and to Simgot to give you my thoughts. As we continue on, I was going to do a bunch of comparisons, but I think I will leave that to the Super Mix 4 coming up. And the reason for that is I think it's more competitively priced, and by the sounds of things, it's also tuned pretty much exactly like this, their ideal sound at a budget price. I'm kind of thinking why they did that. Totally makes sense now. If you love that core tuning, you buy that one first, get you hooked, and you get the better. You'll buy the better version in the EM10. So totally makes sense. Now in this brief little section, I'll give you a little bit about the breakdown of the Simgot EM10. So, one 8mm dynamic driver, 8 balanced armatures. Again, I don't have any information of what the configuration is or brand of any of those things. Too many people are paying too much attention to that brand anyway. I think you should pay attention to how things sound and not be too concerned about if it's a Sonyan or a Knowles or a Belsing. And the piezo a driver as well. So the interesting thing about the piezo in this case, it's mounted near the top of the shell on kind of on the metal back cover. Kind of and they say it's called a Lotus style connection to eliminate mechanical sounds associated with piezoelectric drivers. Beautifully engineered and implemented. Quad crossover. The tuning is achieved with optimized, this is their words, not mine, guide tube path and diameter tuning. There is tuning cloth and there's dampening materials used to adjust the frequency response. The drivers are also positioned for having independent acoustical paths with 3 different sound tubes. The cable itself I showed you is kind of that SPC with a little gold accents. And it is nice in the fact that it is modular and it gives you the 3.5 single-ended and 4.4. Terminated in a semi-recessed kind of 2-pin configuration with a flush on the shell itself. It has a specifications of 41.6 ohms at 120 dB. So it's not a low impedance IEM that would be more affected by different sources. It actually is pretty good, and I've tried it with all 7 of my DAPs, the Ibasso DX180, the Astel & Kern Con Max, the DX90, the Shandling with the 6.6 ohm output impedance on the M5 Ultra, the KN N3 Ultra. I went full gamut here, peeps. And that's not even talking about the dongles. So I have done my due diligence and spent my time with this set to get where I am now. The 3D printed shells and the metal top plates are beautiful. I love it. It's nicely done. That is The About section of the EM10. Let's move on. Just talking about sources and tips quickly here. There it is. So my configuration for my sound had to do with the stock cable. My only complaint with the stock cable is it was just super easy to pull apart from my DAPs, especially the new iBasso, where it grips the 4.4 like in a death grip, and this thing just stays in. And anyway, moving on. They are beautiful shells. I do love the yin and yang, black and silver differential. They're comfortable. The nozzles are straight bore, so there's no lip on them. So not that I really had too much of an issue getting the ear tips to stay on. It was more of the alignment, actually, than anything else. I found that the ear tip, because they didn't have a lip on it, you had to be careful because they would kind of shift. And you had to kind of align the ear tip more with a lip. I think it's a little easier like that. So it's kind of self-aligns where this one doesn't. I'm using Penon's black lacquer tips in one size smaller, which was an interesting find as well, because I found that I needed to get these a little bit deeper to get any kind of stage. Now, my initial impressions of this IEM were like any Harmon IEM I've ever listened to, and the immediate wow factor is it takes you. And that is, let's talk about Harmon tuning in a flash here, and I'll pull up a graph just to give you some reference, okay? Why Simgot preferred their IEM to be, their flagship IEM to be Harmon tuned? Well, I think for most people who would pop these things into your ears, you would go, the wow factor is definitely there. What happens with Harmon tuned tunings is there's that prominent sub-bass boost, scooped kind of lower mids, and scooped mid bass, elevated upper mids. So what happens in this kind of tuning is it does favor female vocals a lot. Really makes them pop out and come forward at the expense of male vocals. Instrumental are missing some weight, and they speed, like cello, kick drums, piano, they all kind of don't have the correct tonality in a Harmon tune, but it is really, really engaging at low and medium volumes. When you start dialing up Harmon tuned IEMs, it becomes shouty, really shouty, because of all that information, that ear gain that's there. So these are really designed more for low and medium, okay? Of what my sound preferences are. I like bass. I like, and if it can have quantity and quality, yeah, I'm rocking it. Especially mid bass. I like the slam over the sub bass rumble. When it comes to the bass, did it do that? No, because of I like a speedier, it's not just I like a speedier. In order to get proper tonality for instrumental and male vocals and stuff, you need the mid bass. And if it's scooped out too much, you're not going to get that punchy, fast bass. So that's an X bass. So, and in this case, what I'm going to do is, instead of just saying bass sounds like this, I'm going to give you some examples with music, right? Because there's more context in that. Poem of Chinese Drum by Harmon Tuning. I use this one every single IEM. Simgot driver quality has always been high. and it's been one of their strong suits. Listening to this song shows the EM10 is very capable of reproducing bass with good technical proficiency, nice decay, nice speed. You can hear when he hits the drum, you can hear the resonances of the drum and the decay. It all does sound very good. And it's great kind of bass if you listen to big drums like this track. But when you play other music, being so sub-focused, and the scooped out mid-bass songs like Electrified 2 by Yellow, where it's an EDM song, it lacks bite and an attack, making the bass kind of soft and pillowy. Not an IEM for EDM, that's for sure. I like my mids super clean. Not a big fan of overly colored, overly thick, overly warm mids. Not a big fan of that. Move into the lower mids now. Fight of the Cosmic Hippo by Bella Fleck. All you get in this song is the kind of drowning lows, hits. But there's also more, a lot more to this song. And it doesn't become super noticeable until you are A-Bing with different IMs or have a good idea of maybe even your preferred tuning. But there's a banjo in this song, and it has a twang, and it has a sound, and it has a unique character. And the banjo in this case doesn't even sound like a banjo. Piano is washed out, and I put smashed. I'm not sure what that meant, but there you go. Lower mids continued. Vivaldi's Double Concerto Movement Number 1 by Tina Gao. That was a long sentence here. Hold on, I need a drink. There's a lot of strings in this track. As a Harmon Tune sound signature, two things happen. The scooped out lower mids don't have enough energy, enough weight to properly portray instrumental like cellos and six-string guitars, violin, or kick drums. The information is simply missing. What about the mids? Well, this Harmon Tuned IEM does have clear mids. I mean, because of the scooped out lower mids and the mid bass, it does make vocals clear, but then you get so much more energy in the upper mids that, again, it makes female vocals pop out, though not completely naturally. So I'm going to have to give it a on the mids. And when this tuning leads us into a U-shaped, scooped out mids, right? So the mids are where most of the music happens. Nothing Else Matters by Miley Cyrus. A perfect example of Harmon, and honestly what a Harmon tuning does best. So it pushes the vocals forward, especially female vocals. Like Miley's vocals are to die for. They're simply intoxicating, engaging, at the expense of everything else, though. In this song, the bass hits are soft. The instrumental is pushed back and lacks detail where it shouldn't. It should have attack in the bass hits, and the top end bite of the instruments and guitar, unfortunately, now lack realism and tonality. They don't sound as they should, in my opinion. And highs that are very sweet and seem to be able to keep up without ever being overbearing or in your face. So what about the highs? I did say the EM10 had nice highs. Well, yes, it does, but again, because it's being masked by those upper mids and the exorbitant amount of sub bass. So they really get pushed back into the mix where you don't get enough of the sparkly highs and the twinklies. Though the piezo tweeter has such potential, it's, I don't think, being utilized to its full. capability. Highs have always been a strong suit for Simgot. Maybe too spicy for some, but that really had to do more with the upper mids. I think the treble on Simgot sets have always been really stand out. They never seem to get too sibilant or too out of control. So talking just a little bit more about Harmon and its kind of very U-shaped sound signature. For brief listens, for the whole Harmon idea that it would appeal to the masses, and I think that definitely does that in short bursts. If you put a Harmon Tuned IEM in and you had a bunch of A, B, C, D, people would kind of naturally kind of gravitate to that because it does hit a lot of our triggers, right? We like, most of us like bass, and we would like to hear the vocals come strong and clear, right? But if you were listening to instrumental and the tonality, and when you get to, after a little bit with listening to a Harmon Tuned IEM, what I get is something is off. So the initial wow factor wore off very, very quickly. I mean, you first put the EM10 in and you go, wow, this is the best thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And then you start listening to it. In my brain anyway, I go, well, I know that song. And I'm missing that, or that doesn't sound right, and then you kind of get, well, and then you start going further, and you start critically listening to the IM, and it's easy to pick apart because then the vocals don't sound like they do. And if I were not listening to vocals, I was just listening to instrumental tracks, it would be easier to tell that the timbre and the tonality of the instruments aren't quite right. And they're either missing weight or pushed back or just something's wrong in the mix. And that's a little easier to tell without vocals. And I can't see too many musicians actually being wowed by a Harmon Tune set because everything sounds a bit unnatural. And for me, that's what Harmon does to my perception. At first, it wows me, and then it totally puts me off. And it doesn't take too long for my brain to catch on that something isn't quite right. Some of the EM10's problem here is the same throughout this set, not in its technical abilities, but in the way it was tuned. With EQ or filter mods, really hammered home this point. So when those upper mids are tamed, the EM10 can really shine. The PZT, piezoelectric, has some potential. But, there's another but. Avenue A from the Symphony Sessions by Tom Cochrane and Red Rider. Tom sounds thin and forward. Male vocals will sound very thin and forward. They won't have the right weight and tonality of the vocals. But also the sparkles are not there either. Because they're kind of getting masked by those upper mids. The piano is all masks. Masked, right? The guitar, that is one of the standout features of this track, sound signature, is what makes this track really engaging and dynamic. It's just vocals, though. That sound in this track off, and there is a lack of realism with the stage effect, and that's another issue with Harmon Tuned IEMs, where it really masks the stage. With most IEMs, you get the sense of a huge concert hall, massive, And in this track as well, you should be able to pick up that there's seating 40,000 people. You don't get that sense with this tuning, and not with the EM10. The stage itself is very, I was gonna say intimate, but it's more compressed into a little ball around your brain, and I don't even get too much stereophonics. I don't get too much left-right placement, guitar over here, singer over there. I don't get very much of that in its stock tuning. With the EQ and with the filter mods that I played around with, it changed completely, right? So back to that, talking what happens, what if, the what if section. What if I took an EQ and I modded it to my curve, okay? And or put a filter on it. This is what happened. I'll give you a couple tracks. So back to EDM. Time Tunnel by Yellow. Now the bass becomes a little, because I knocked down the bottom end, like the sub bass, and now the bass hits become fun with some still weight behind it, and it gets a lot more authoritative. It does still have that kind of big woofer 15 ported bass sound, but now it has some decent speed. It's still not the fastest, but it's fun. Mids are also keeping up now, as it does the treble, and goes loud, where before you couldn't turn it up past medium volume without getting shouty. Now you can push the volume gain up a lot more. Sun Going Down by the Tea Party. Great male vocals now. No complaints about vocal weight. Forward mids work very well with this track. It's a very busy track. It's a rock track. And the EM still managed to pull it off with volume. Us Versus Them, 2019 remastered on Tidal with spatial audio. Okay. Pink Floyd. Such a concert playback, like being there live. It was so cool. This did not happen with stock tuning. This only happened when I EQ'd it to my target curve. Even the 500 level nozzle filter didn't get there for me. Does it make this IEM perfect now for my preferences? Maybe to yours? It's time. Sia, Labyrinth Diplo. At 1:40, the backup singer should come through with different depths and a distinct layering and a good sense of left, center, right. And the EM10 still doesn't do a great job of this. The piano also lacks proper note weight still and timbre. It really doesn't sound like a piano. It's playing the notes, but there is no sense of realism or depth to the music. Lastly, vocals of Sia, which is the most important part of this entire track, are still missing the edgy, the way she should sound. She doesn't. So the nuances, the tonality, and the bite of her vocals that she commands just doesn't show through, even with EQ. So Maddie by Malia on the Con Max. So I said I was going to talk about sources. The Con has I wouldn't say a slightly recessed. It has a very neutral mid-range, so none of the mid-range is pushed forward with this. And it works great for this IEM. It's $1,200 DAP. I don't expect everyone, and this is the mid-fi DAP. So vocals were nice, but the strings were not really enlightened. and hard to hear in comparison to many other IEMs. All I get is just kind of vocals. Over the Rainbow by Melody Gardot. Again, this is a live version, and this EM10 smashes the vocals. The guitar, though, doesn't come through with enough realism and details that this song asks of the replay. Again, the depth of the stage suffers still with those pushed upper mids. Even EQ'd, it doesn't come through enough, in my opinion. And I don't know if that's the drivers that's the issue at this point, if it's been re-EQ'd or what it is, but I still don't get that that sense of, I mean, it's her singing and guitar, really. That's all it is. And the two should be distinct, the two should be cohesive and stand out, and it's only one, and which is her vocals. If in comparison, I mean, I wasn't going to do too many comparisons, but I was listening to the ME600. And again, it's like, what if I listen to that one? What if, that's the Shandling? It killed it tonality-wise, but the details, resolution, the naturalness, and the stage was like, okay, that's what that's all the EM10 is missing at that point. That is really how I heard the Simgot EM10. For me, I am clearly not a Harmon Tuned fan, though you don't see typically too many true core Harmon Tuned IEMs on the market. And again, for you, those of you who love this tuning, this is the best version of a Harmon Tuned IEM I have ever heard. So big, huge congrats again to Simgot for achieving your dream. And for those of you, I say, who are not fans of Harmon and like a more balanced IEM, well, then there's other choices out there for you. Thank you very much for watching this video and my channel. I appreciate the love and support. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching.